Your body has a hidden switch, one that most people never activate their entire lives. It isn't something you can see or feel immediately, but it quietly determines how your body produces energy, stores fat, and even protects itself at a cellular level. Most people go through life using only one fuel system, completely unaware that a second, far more powerful one exists beneath the surface. Right now, your body is likely running on glucose, the quick, familiar fuel that comes from the foods you eat throughout the day. But staying in this constant cycle of eating and refueling may come with a cost. When glucose is always available, the body rarely needs to tap into its backup system. Over time, this can encourage fat storage, disrupt metabolic balance, and create internal conditions that may not be as harmless as they seem. But something fascinating happens when that steady flow of glucose begins to fade. The body doesn't panic, it doesn't weaken. Instead, it begins to shift, unlocking a different mode of operation that most people never experience. Think of your body like a hybrid car that's designed to run on both gasoline and electric power. Yet it never switches modes because the tank is constantly being topped up. The electric system is there, fully capable, but completely unused. What if the real problem isn't what you eat, but how often you eat? Because beneath the surface, processes like glycogen depletion, falling insulin levels, and the rise of ketone production are quietly preparing your body for something entirely different. For years, my work has been centered on understanding how the human body manages energy not just on the surface, but deep within its metabolic systems. With a background in nutrition science and endocrinology, I've spent a significant part of my career studying insulin resistance, obesity, and the physiological effects of fasting. My research and clinical experience have focused on how hormones, particularly insulin, influence whether the body stores fat or uses it for energy. In working with patients, I've seen a recurring pattern. Many of them followed every piece of conventional advice. They counted calories carefully, stayed consistent with exercise, and made what most would consider healthy food choices. Yet despite their effort and discipline, they remained stuck, unable to lose weight, struggling with unstable blood sugar, or facing early signs of metabolic syndrome. It wasn't a lack of willpower. It was a gap in understanding how their bodies were actually responding. That realization led me to look deeper beyond calories and food quality into the timing of eating itself. What I found was striking. The body doesn't just react to what you eat. It responds powerfully too when you eat. Meal timing directly influences insulin levels, energy availability, and whether the body stays locked in storage mode or transitions into a fat-burning state. Over time, through both scientific research and real-world clinical observation, a clearer picture began to form. The key wasn't forcing the body through extreme restriction, or chasing the latest dietary trend. It was about working with the body's natural design, allowing it the space to switch between its fuel systems in a way that supports balance and efficiency. Everything I share with you is grounded in evidence-based research and reinforced by years of working with individuals facing real metabolic challenges. This approach isn't about pushing the body to extremes or adopting unsustainable habits. It's about understanding the internal mechanisms that are already there, waiting to be activated. Today, I'm going to walk you through what really happens inside your body when you stop eating for a period of time, and why that hidden metabolic state might be the missing piece in your health journey. Before we go any deeper, it's important to understand exactly where this journey is headed, because what you're about to learn isn't just another nutrition strategy, it's a completely different way of looking at how your body functions. First, we'll break down what is actually happening inside your body the moment you stop eating. Not the surface-level explanation, but the real internal shifts, how your body begins adjusting its energy use, hormone levels, and survival mechanisms in response to the absence of food. Then, we'll explore the exact biological switch that takes place the moment your body transitions from relying on glucose to tapping into stored fat for fuel. This is the hidden switch most people never activate, and understanding it changes everything about how you approach eating. From there, we'll go deeper into how this shift transforms your internal environment at a cellular level. Your body doesn't just burn a different fuel, it starts operating under a completely different set of conditions, influencing inflammation, repair processes, and metabolic efficiency. Next, we'll look at why this new environment may place stress on abnormal or fast-growing cells and why that matters for long-term health. This is one of the most overlooked aspects of fasting, yet one of the most powerful. After that, we'll connect everything to real scientific studies, not opinions or trends, but actual research that explores how fasting impacts metabolism, insulin sensitivity, and cellular behavior. Then we'll make this practical. You'll learn a clear, safe intermittent fasting protocol that you can realistically follow without extreme restrictions or confusion. As we move forward, we'll also cover what changes you can expect in your body over time, from energy levels and fat loss to mental clarity and metabolic stability. Finally, we'll address important safety considerations, so you understand who should approach fasting carefully and how to do it responsibly. By the end of this, you'll see something most people completely miss: that fasting isn't just about losing weight. It's about shifting your body's internal chemistry in a way that supports deeper metabolic health. This isn't just theory. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how to use this mechanism to support fat loss, metabolic health, and long-term wellness. But first, we need to understand the real problem most people are facing without even realizing it. The core issue most people face today isn't just what they eat, it's that they're almost never not eating. From early morning breakfasts to late night snacks, the body is kept in a constant fed state. Every time you eat, your body releases insulin to manage the incoming glucose. But when this happens all day long, insulin levels rarely get a chance to drop, and that creates a problem. As long as insulin remains elevated, your body is essentially locked in storage mode. It prioritizes using incoming glucose for energy while storing excess as fat. What it doesn't do is switch over to burning that stored fat because, from a biological standpoint, there's no need. Fuel is constantly being supplied. At the same time, your glycogen stores, the stored form of glucose in your liver and muscles, are continuously being refilled for your body to activate its alternative fuel system. Those stores need to be depleted. But if you're eating every few hours, that depletion never happens. The switch is never triggered. It's like trying to burn wood in a fireplace while constantly pouring gasoline over it. The fire will always use the gasoline first because it's easier and more immediate. The wood, your stored fat, just sits there, untouched. This becomes even more challenging as you get older. The body naturally becomes more resistant to insulin, meaning it takes more of it to manage the same amount of glucose. Metabolic flexibility, your body's ability to switch between fuel sources, also begins to slow down. As a result, fat storage becomes more efficient and fat burning becomes less accessible. Many people are told that weight loss is simply a matter of calories in versus calories out. While calories do matter, this perspective ignores something critical: your hormones and metabolic timing. When insulin is constantly elevated, the body is not in a state where fat burning is easily accessible, regardless of calorie intake. In fact, common advice like eating small, frequent meals or snacking throughout the day may actually reinforce this cycle. Instead of helping metabolism, it can keep the body in a continuous loop of glucose dependence and fat storage. And there's a deeper layer to this. An internal environment that is consistently high in glucose may do more than just promote weight gain. It can also create conditions that support abnormal cellular activity, something that is often overlooked in everyday health discussions. This isn't just about weight gain. It's about the internal environment your body is living in every single day. So what happens when that constant supply of glucose finally stops? When the constant flow of food finally pauses, your body begins moving through a series of well-orchestrated changes. These aren't random reactions, they're built-in survival mechanisms designed to help you function efficiently even in the absence of incoming energy. The first stage is glycogen depletion. Glycogen is essentially your body's short-term battery, stored in the liver and muscles to provide quick access to energy. As you stop eating, your body begins drawing from this reserve to maintain normal function. But this supply is limited, and once it starts running low, the body is forced to look elsewhere. That shift triggers the second stage, a drop in insulin levels. Without frequent food intake, especially carbohydrates, insulin begins to fall. This is a critical turning point because lower insulin signals to the body that it's time to stop storing energy and start accessing what's already been stored. Next comes an increase in fat breakdown. With insulin no longer blocking the process, your body begins releasing stored fat and converting it into usable energy. This is where the long-term power reserve comes into play. Unlike glycogen, fat stores are abundant and designed to sustain you for extended periods as this process continues. The liver begins producing ketones, an alternative fuel source derived from fat. These ketones are often described as a clean-burning fuel because they produce energy in a way that generates fewer byproducts compared to glucose. But more importantly, they don't just provide energy, they influence how cells behave, supporting a more stable and efficient metabolic state. At the same time, the internal environment of the body begins to change. With lower glucose availability, conditions become more challenging for fast-growing or abnormal cells that rely heavily on constant energy supply. While normal cells can adapt to using ketones, these less stable cells may struggle in this environment. Then comes one of the most fascinating processes, autophagy. In this stage, the body begins identifying and breaking down damaged, dysfunctional, or unnecessary cellular components. These parts are then recycled and used to build healthier, more efficient structures. It's a natural cleanup system that helps maintain cellular quality. It's like your body shifts out of storage mode and into repair mode, no longer focused on holding on to excess energy, but on optimizing and restoring itself from within. This entire transition from glycogen use to fat burning, from glucose dependence to ketone production, from storage to repair has powerful implications. It can improve insulin sensitivity, support fat loss, and create a more balanced metabolic environment over time. But does science actually support these effects? Over the past 2 decades, intermittent fasting and metabolic switching have been studied extensively by researchers at institutions like Harvard Medical School, Johns Hopkins University, and the National Institutes of Health. What they've consistently found is that the human body is not only capable of switching between fuel sources, it actually benefits from doing so. One of the most well-documented effects is the reduction in insulin levels during fasting periods. When food intake is paused, insulin naturally declines, allowing the body to access stored fat more efficiently. Multiple studies have shown that this leads to improved insulin sensitivity over time, meaning the body requires less insulin to manage blood sugar, a key factor in preventing and managing metabolic disorders. At the same time, research has confirmed that fasting promotes increased fat oxidation. As glycogen stores are depleted, the body begins breaking down fat and producing ketones as an alternative fuel source. These ketones don't just replace glucose, they create a different internal environment that supports more stable energy levels and reduces reliance on constant food intake. Clinical trials have also demonstrated measurable reductions in body fat among individuals practicing structured intermittent fasting. What's important here is that these changes often occur without the need for extreme calorie restriction. Instead, the timing of food intake allows the body to naturally shift into fat-burning mode. Another key finding is the improvement in metabolic flexibility, the body's ability to switch between glucose and fat as fuel. Many people with obesity or insulin resistance have a reduced ability to make this switch. Fasting appears to help restore that flexibility, allowing the body to adapt more efficiently based on energy availability. Beyond metabolism, there is growing research into how fasting affects cellular health. Studies have shown that periods without food can activate protective stress responses within cells. This includes processes like autophagy, where the body begins clearing out damaged or dysfunctional components and recycling them for repair. While this process is complex, the takeaway is simple. Fasting encourages the body to maintain and improve cellular quality. There is also evidence suggesting that lower glucose and insulin levels may create a less favorable environment for certain types of abnormal cellular activity. While research in this area is still developing, the early findings are compelling enough to warrant serious attention. This isn't a theory, it's a well-documented biological response observed across multiple studies and populations. So how can you actually apply this in your daily life? Applying this in your daily life doesn't require extreme changes. It starts with something simple and sustainable. The easiest way to begin is by creating a 12-hour fasting window. This means if you finish dinner at p.m., you wait until a.m. the next morning before eating again. For many people, this alone is enough to start giving the body a break from constant digestion and allow insulin levels to come down. Once your body adapts, you can gradually extend that fasting window to 14 or even 16 hours. A common and effective approach is finishing your last meal at p.m. and then having your next meal at p.m. the following day. This 16-hour fasting period gives your body more time to move beyond glycogen use and begin tapping into stored fat. For those who become more comfortable with fasting, occasional longer fasts around 18 to 24 hours can be introduced carefully. These are not meant to be done daily, but used strategically to deepen the metabolic shift when your body is ready. Preparation plays an important role in how smooth this process feels. Staying well hydrated is essential, as your body continues to regulate many functions during fasting. Focusing on whole, nutrient-dense foods during your eating window helps stabilize blood sugar and makes fasting easier. It's also helpful to gradually reduce sugar and highly processed carbohydrates beforehand, as these can increase hunger and make the transition more difficult. There are a few common mistakes that can limit your progress. Breaking your fast with high sugar foods can cause a rapid spike in glucose and insulin, which works against the metabolic shift you're trying to create. Not eating enough protein during your meals can leave you feeling unsatisfied and may impact muscle maintenance. Overeating after a fast is another issue. It can cancel out the benefits by pushing the body right back into storage mode. The key is to keep this approach realistic. It's not about being perfect every day or forcing your body into extremes. Consistency matters far more than intensity. By gradually training your body to spend more time in a fasted state, you allow it to naturally access its stored energy and restore metabolic balance. So what changes can you expect once you start? While fasting can be a powerful tool for improving metabolic health, it's important to recognize that it isn't appropriate for everyone in the same way. Certain individuals should approach fasting with caution and seek guidance from a qualified healthcare professional before making any significant changes to their eating patterns. This is especially important for people living with conditions like diabetes, where blood sugar regulation is already a critical concern. Fasting can significantly lower blood glucose levels, and without proper monitoring, this may increase the risk of hypoglycemia, a state where blood sugar drops to low, leading to symptoms like dizziness, weakness, confusion, or even more serious complications. Adjustments to medication and careful supervision are often necessary. In these cases, pregnant or breastfeeding women should also be cautious. During these stages, the body has increased nutritional demands to support both maternal health and the development of the baby. Extended fasting periods may make it more difficult to meet these needs consistently. In addition, anyone taking medications that directly affect blood sugar or metabolism should be mindful. Fasting can amplify the effects of these medications, which may require dose adjustments or alternative approaches under medical supervision. There are also risks associated with fasting if it's done improperly. Going too long without adequate nutrition, especially without a balanced approach during eating periods, can lead to nutrient deficiencies over time. The goal is not to deprive the body, but to create structured periods of eating and fasting that still provide all essential nutrients. Another common issue is approaching fasting too aggressively. Jumping into long fasting windows without preparation can lead to excessive fatigue, dehydration, or an unsustainable cycle of restriction followed by overeating. This not only reduces the effectiveness of fasting but can also create unnecessary stress on the body. Fasting works best when it is applied thoughtfully and gradually. It should feel like a controlled, supportive process, not an extreme or punishing one. Listening to your body, staying hydrated, and maintaining balanced nutrition during eating periods are all essential parts of doing it safely. For most healthy adults, intermittent fasting is safe when done correctly. At its core, everything you've just learned comes back to one simple truth: your body was designed to switch between fuel systems. It already knows how to do this. It doesn't need to be forced, hacked, or overwhelmed with extremes. It just needs the opportunity. When you create space between meals and allow your body to move beyond constant glucose use, you're not adding something new, you're activating something that has always been there. The real transformation doesn't come from one perfect day or one long fast. It comes from small, consistent choices repeated over time. Extending your fasting window by a few hours, reducing unnecessary snacking, becoming more aware of how often you eat, these simple shifts begin to add up. and as they do, your body starts to respond in ways that feel natural, not forced. If you've struggled with your metabolism, your energy levels, or your weight, it's important to understand this. You're not broken. Your body isn't working against you. In many cases, it's simply been stuck in an environment that never allowed it to function the way it was designed to. When you change that environment even slightly, everything else can begin to shift. This is about giving your body the conditions it needs to restore balance. Not overnight, not instantly, but gradually and sustainably. The more consistent you are, the more your body adapts, and the easier it becomes to maintain. If this opened your perspective in a new way, take a moment to support it. Like the video so more people can discover this information. Subscribe so you don't miss what comes next, and share this with someone who's been struggling, someone who might need to hear that there's a different approach worth understanding. Because the most powerful changes in your body happen when you give it time to reset. What if the type of food you eat after fasting determines whether you accelerate your results or completely reverse them? Because what happens after you break your fast is just as important as the fast itself. Your body, after spending hours lowering insulin and shifting into fat-burning mode, becomes highly responsive to whatever you give it next. In that moment, your metabolism is more sensitive, more adaptive, and more vulnerable to the wrong choices. Certain foods can keep insulin stable and allow your body to continue burning fat efficiently. Others can cause a sharp spike, pushing your system right back into storage mode almost instantly. The difference between the two isn't always obvious, and it's where many people unknowingly lose progress. It's not just about calories or portion sizes. It's about how specific foods interact with your hormones, how quickly they raise blood sugar, and how they influence the metabolic state you've worked to create during your fasting window. Even something that seems healthy on the surface can trigger a response that slows down fat burning if it's not timed or balanced correctly. There's also the question of food combinations, how protein, fats, and carbohydrates work together to either stabilize your system or disrupt it. The order in which you eat, the types of nutrients you prioritize, and even the timing of your first meal can all play a role in what your body does next. And this is where the real strategy begins, because fasting alone opens the door, but what you do after determines how far you go. In the next video, we'll break down exactly what to eat to maximize fat burning and metabolic health, because fasting is only half the equation.